You're moving worship, okay, finance, does that mean you're when you tape, I'll still be on the committee, and I am taking a year off. Sorry, but I'm very congratulations. My concerns more of
We're going to go ahead and begin the conversation.
Okay, everybody, stand your Wednesday talk.
Okay, so I am here representing the nominating committee and the current members of that committee. There are three of us. There's Shelby Tallroth and Ann Derber and myself, Stephanie Wiesbauer. And so we're here to talk about what we do and how we do it. So basically, the nominating committee is looking for people to participate in the functioning of our church. So all those little things that go on behind the scenes, of which many of you are already involved. So I'm just going to go over the department briefly, because that's the duties of the nominating committee, to find people to participate on those departments. What we have here is, of course, our church, which is a building. So we have a property department, maintain the building, the grounds, and of course the parsonage. We have the church services. So the worship and music department finds people to do ushering and greeting, and goes through the music. What are we going to sing? They will contact people to invite them to sing a song or two, or play a musical instrument, tell a poem, whatever special talent they would like to share. The elders, of course, they're involved with the communion that is served. So they'll prepare the communion and distribute it. They also stay in contact with the membership, and periodically, when pastor needs some time off, the elders will step in and facilitate the service. During the church service, there's a collection. So the collection has to be processed. So that falls under stewardship and finance committee. So bills, of course, need to be paid, and a budget needs to be followed. And a portion of the money that's collected is given to the missions department. So the missions department will take that money and then donate it to different charities to help the people in need. We have paid employees. There's the organist, there's the church secretary, the church treasurer, there's the pastor, there's a custodian, there's other paid employees, and whatever paid employees there are, that management falls under the Department of Personnel. So those are basically the departments that we have here at the church. Just to FYI, the people that are on the department will make up the church council. So how do we do this? How do we find people to participate? Well, it has to be communicated through our church newsletter. We put an article in the newsletter. Some of you might have seen that already. That was posted in the last newsletter. The bulletin announcement, today's bulletin, I think, was the first time that we had the announcement for the different departments and what specifically is needed at this time. We will be sending out an email that'll go out to the general membership to ask for people to become involved. And of course, there's a sign-up sheet. So the sign-up sheet is, right now I've got it on an easel just so that you can see it and call attention to it, so that people can actually facilitate it. We'll probably put it flat here for you to take a closer look at, and when you look at it after the meeting, if you have any questions or any time over the next few months, if you have any questions, just contact either myself, Shelby, or Ann, or Pastor can filter it through us. what we do with the nominating committee, have conversations with the different members of the church. So we talk about your interests, your skills, your background history, your work experience. What are your talents? What are your gifts? And how can these be shared? We are, of course, a church, and so in addition to lining up those strengths with the different responsibilities, essential element to this is prayer. You know, we're praying for discernment of the talents and how to use them. God gave us those talents, and so we're here to share those talents to give God the glory. A big part of the nominating process is stated in the bylaws, and so a big part of that is membership. So according to our bylaws, in order to be on one of the departments, you need to be a member of the church. There are different term limits, which can get a little confusing, but basically there are term limits that the different departments have. For example, the elders have a term limit of 5 years, and they can succeed themselves. The other departments are a term limit of 3 years, and then they can only succeed themselves for one other term, so a minimum of 2 terms. That's what's stated in the bylaws. There are other term limits that come into play. The council secretary and treasurer have a term limit of 1 year. They can succeed themselves. So I know Bruce has done that for many years, and Joyce did that for many years, and now it's Ellie is the current secretary. What we have stated in the bylaws is a term called vacancy. So what does that mean? Well, periodically when the term limits are expired, or someone goes off one department and goes on another department, or if a department number of people falls below minimum, which is stated in the bylaws, then we're looking for people to fill that position. And so then that term is called a vacancy. So you'll see on the sign-up sheet here that we're looking to fill those vacancies. So right now we're looking specifically for someone to be the council treasurer, not the church treasurer, to be the council treasurer. And we're also specifically looking for someone to be on the missions department, the worship and music department, and possibly the property department. So think about that. We'll be in contact with you to see whether or not you'd be able to participate with that. So the word nominating refers to the election part of the process. And so once a person becomes interested in being on a department, then their name is placed on a ballot, and that ballot is then presented at the annual meeting, which is in July. It is voted on, and once the people become a member of the department, then of course there's meetings to attend, and there's the duties of that department to follow through with. Now, the nominating committee finds people to be members of the department, but you'll notice that we're called a committee. So the committees, the process is just a little different. There isn't any election process involved. The committees are chosen the second meeting after the annual meeting, and then they're appointed by the council chair for 1 year. And I know that the the nominating committee doesn't get involved with specifically looking for people to be on the committees, but for the sake of this conversation, just be aware we're always looking for people to be on the different committees. I'm just going to mention them. There's the fellowship committee, which oversees the coffee hours and celebrations of life. Once in a while, I suppose there's a wedding or two where they step in and help organize that. The other committee would be the pastoral relations, which has been very busy, and here is the result of all that pastor. And their responsibility is to promote effective relationship between the pastor and the church. That would be all of us. The nominating committee, the bylaws committee. So our church has bylaws and constitution that may be looked at periodically and perhaps updated. The communication department, that would be YouTube, that would be the newsletter, that would be
The bulletins.
the bulletin, yep, and the website, right? Website, Facebook, all of that. The banners, the beautiful banners that are displayed in church, the memorial committee. So I think that that's all of the committees.
You forgot flowers.
The flowers, oh, beautification, the beautification, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So other than, in addition to committees, there's volunteering. So periodically, the property department will ask for people to help with the special projects, such as cleaning up the grounds. The volunteering is, of course, the beautification, helping decorate the church. There's the sound system, ushering, reading, the banners, of course, decorating the church, caroling. At one time, we had gone around and done some caroling. That was a lot of fun. There's different activities, such as Trick or Trunk. There's Operation Christmas Child, the Salvation Army Bell we had periodically run in the past. There's Jump for Jesus, that's coming up, the Strawberry Social.
Isn't that all put on by the WCC?
Well, that's a good question. I believe that WCC, that's been under discussion whether or not that term is still being used.
No, that's
and
not
whether
under
or not-
discussion anymore. WCCC is now part of missions because we have folded in. Missions is changing from just support of international local missions, whether they're nearby or overseas, to now being missional around us as well. So that some of the activities was overlaid between the two, so we just folded them together. Are you finished?
Well, I just want to say that, basically I've been talking about the logistics, right? And there's more to it than that. We're a congregation, we are a collective unit, we are a body of worshipers. And I know that Pastor would like to say a few words, but before that, are there any other questions that are in regard to what I've been talking about? Take it away. All yours.
Okay. And there might be other questions like the WCCC one, but a few other shifts as well. Like for instance, in memorials, they don't technically have regular meetings. They fall under stewardship, finances, a few other things are like that. One of the biggest things that we wanted to do here was actually create really good organizational health, and that's a lot of communication. For those especially who are leading a department, I have made sure that I am trying to support the chair, those who have volunteered to actually lead their teams, and in turn they are supposed to be charged, obviously, leading the people underneath them. One of the things I want to make sure, though, is that we are transitioning well as well. One of the things that I don't know if it happened as much is the handoff from one leader to the next. We'll be making sure we look at that in the summertime as that comes about, because when we are praying about vision, when we're praying about all the activities that we are wanting to do, and Stephanie did mention different events, what we really want to do is we want to know that our body is functioning well, right? We truly are a body, and right, the feet need to know what the hands are doing. Hands need to know when the feet are taking you somewhere, right? So what we want to make sure is, again, there's a good understanding between teams, between events, who's doing what, and that, of course, is positional, meaning some of these are literally seats on the team, but a lot of what happens is not seat as well. Like, for instance, you will notice all the good food, right? There wasn't like seats of everybody making sure that they brought food each. I know there's a sign up, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of informal activity going on. When Deb is turning off the lights, she's a part of properties, I know, but right, there is a lot to do, there's a lot to cover, and one of the things that I want to make sure everyone understands for me is when I'm doing a lot more for our organization health-wise, is that I really only ask people to try and do one, maybe two things. If you do more than that, like some of us, then of course that is an extra blessing. But for the sake of our body, we want to make sure that there is space for everyone to be able to do something. And sometimes that's inside the church, sometimes that is, of course, activities going on around town, is what I'm saying. And I'm hoping that as time moves on, as I continue to get to know everyone better and better and know more of your background, that we will truly make this about where everybody will have a passion and experience to serve those in those ways. I am not one that is afraid to leave empty slots open. I would rather have a slot left empty than have someone who is pushed into it without the passion or experience to do it. That is sometimes worse than having a spot filled. So if you're thinking we need all spots filled and more, then that's not my priority. My priority is for everyone to feel like they are being seen and honored in the role that they are playing. So that is one of the things that you will not have seen from a Sunday attending, but has very much been happening since I've been here, is a lot of work going on behind the scenes, building some feedback loops, some communication points between chairs, and I think more than ever before, our departments are actually communicating and working a little more closely together with that, nailing down some of those responsibility points. So if you have questions, I would just ask you to come and actually ask someone who knows the answer, because I don't want there to be confusion, and that can go off in a lot of different directions. One of the things that, of course, I've communicated real quick is that we have started our vision process, and if we are going to actually have any new activity, whether that's for the town or inward, when it's classes, meaning discipleship classes, things like that. What that means is we really want to have a good rhythm in place before we start anything new. Some organizations you'll find they want to do a vision because they think the vision process will fix the problems that have been lying there for a long time, and that's just not the case. Those are the times where vision will be talked about and then it'll totally fall flat, because you just cannot accomplish a vision without health first. And so this is why we are talking not just departments, but serving in general, everyone doing some piece to help our body feel healthy. All right? Okay, that is what I wanted to leave you with. Of course, there are still open positions, things like that, but I will trust that those will unfold as it will. Yes.
I do have one question. You had said something about term limits, and then you said a minimum of 2 terms, but you meant a maximum of 2 terms?
Yes, she did the
Oh,
maximum.
yeah.
I just want to make sure, so after
Yeah.
the 2 terms in a row, you can't serve on that
Correct.
position anymore.
Currently.
Well,
You
oh,
have to
What?
take a year
No,
off.
you take, you're right, take a year
Or
off,
take-
and then you can come back.
Take a year
Yes.
off. Okay.
So, honestly, one of the things that I've seen as well is, in terms of term limits, I know some are 3 years, some are 5 years. I don't always expect someone to serve in a leadership capacity for 6 years or 10 years straight. I think that could feel daunting for people. For me, the priority is, in this time and space and place of need, can someone fill this spot? I am not interested in having somebody feel like they have to serve for the next 10 years, and that's a long time to commit to. I look at our church seasons and our activity as well and say, when you can, for that amount of time, can you do it? Not I expect you to just keep going and going and going. There is a need for rest. There's a need for people to just receive as well. I know some people who come and they just need to feel filled. There you go. Okay, so that's just a few thoughts from my side. I know that there's, again, the positional side, but really I hope you walk away thinking about us as a body, a church body, and what that looks like for our community. Okay. All right, any other questions? Otherwise, please take some food with you on the way out. Okay?
Thank you.